Hi there, this is Talia the dietitian, and today, given everything that's going on in the world, I wanted to talk about canned and frozen veggies and fruits. I have some examples in front of me here. I actually just kind of looked through my pantry and I only have canned veggies, but I do have some frozen fruit, which I'm going to talk about as well. I just pulled this out of my freezer. I've got frozen green beans here. And so I wanted to talk about that because people tend to get all frightened that, it's canned or it's frozen and it's not as good, and there's this long, been around for a long time, fresh is best. Well, I'm here to tell you that fresh is not always best. I'll tell you what's best. What's best is what you have access to. Eating a fruit or a vegetable, whether it's canned or frozen or fresh, is great. And whatever the choice is that you have, I'm glad you're eating them because that's what's really important. So, I wanted to start with the frozen veg. Frozen veg are actually a terrific option. I highly recommend having frozen veg in your freezer at all times, because if you run out of fresh veg, or you didn't get to go to the supermarket, or the fresh stuff that you had spoiled, you have this great option, which is frozen and it's in your freezer. It's available, it's there, it can stay there for a long period of time. Highly recommend you have some frozen veggies always around, and fruit. That's a staple in our home, especially since having children, because it's much easier to prep them than it is. You don't have to wash them and cut them, and so that's really convenient and easy. And often frozen vegetables and fruits can have more nutrients in them than the fresh ones because they're frozen right after being harvested. Whereas fresh veggies and fruit, they get picked, they're harvested, they're put somewhere for a little while, they have to go on a truck and they have to get sent to the supermarket or to the farmer's market or whatever it is. They've sat in the supermarket warehouse in the back for a while, for a day or two, then they come out, and then they might be sitting there for a day before you get there and buy them, then you bring them home. Chances are you don't eat them the very first day you buy them, so they're sitting in the fridge. So what happens is some vitamins can oxidize in there, which means that they're no longer active. So that's not to say they're bad, because they're not bad. They still contain things like fiber and minerals, and they do retain some of their vitamins. I'm not saying that fresh is bad. It's not. But what I'm saying is frozen can sometimes actually have more nutrients in there and is a great option. Another great thing about frozen veggies is that there's no sodium added to them, which is really great. So it's not even something you need to look at unless they've been marinated or spiced in some way. Most of the ones, like these ones, for example, they are just plain, generic green beans. You can buy the cut green beans, which is helpful if you have a young baby, or these long ones. This is what I have. They're just plain green beans. I'm going to look at the ingredients here. The ingredients is whole green beans, which is perfect. That's exactly what you want. So let's move on and talk a little bit about canned veggies and produce. Okay. The first thing I have in front of me here are a can of black beans. And what I recommend, the first thing I'm going to say, if you're buying something canned, I would highly recommend you scan the shelves and see if you can get one that says like this, no salt added or low sodium. Because often that's the first thing that is often a red flag with canned things, is that they often have sodium added to them. One of the ways, if you can't find a no sodium option, that's okay too. What you can do is when you open the can, you rinse it. Rinse them really, really well. That will remove a large amount of the sodium. So don't just drain it, actually open it up, put it into a colander or something, put it into a bowl, and really wash them. I recommend rinsing. If you have a colander or a strainer that you can put it into, have running water go over it, shake it around, that will remove a lot of the sodium. So if you can't find low sodium, that's your best option. If you do find low sodium, I still recommend rinsing beans, especially beans, because they have sometimes extra starches on there, which can lead to flatulence, farting. Okay, so I usually rinse even these ones that are no salt added, I'll still rinse them. So when I look at the back here, all that is in here is prepared black beans and water, which is great. And in terms of if you get confused and you look at the sodium, it does have 10 milligrams of sodium, which is a very small amount, but that's naturally occurring in there. It's not added in the ingredients list. So that's really all you need to look at on those. So I have an example here of a can of a can of baby corn. Then I've looked, there's no low sodium version of this, or no salt. There's no salt version of this. So if I look at the ingredients, I've got baby corn, water, salt, and citric acid. And that's just there as a little preservative. It's nothing to be concerned about. So I'm gonna have a look here at the sodium content. And in a 3-ounce serving is 160 milligrams. That's not a huge amount, but if you're giving this to a baby or a child under 1, their sodium needs or maximums are about 400 milligrams. So this is a large chunk of that. It's over a quarter. So that's something to be cognizant of. So, but if you rinse it, you'll be able to remove, it probably won't remove 100%, but it'll remove a large part of it. So that's that tip of rinsing. So another thing that I wanted to talk about that I have staples in my house all the time are canned tomatoes. These ones I have crushed because I like to make sauces and soups with them, but you can get obviously quite a variety of different ones. Now, these ones are regular ones, and they do have salt added to them. So if I look at the ingredients here, I see crushed tomatoes, water, concentrated crushed tomatoes, and less than 2% of salt. Okay, so if I'm looking at the sodium content here, in 1/4 cup, there's 90 milligrams. Again, that's not a huge amount, but if you're a baby or a young child, that is a fair amount. Plus, if you're putting this in soups and sauces and things, and you're also adding salt to them, that really does add up. So that's something to be aware of. I would definitely recommend looking if you can find it for a low or no sodium or no salt added. These ones are no salt added. They're the same price. These are from a supermarket called Sprouts. They're the exact same price as their counterparts that have the sodium or salt added to them. And this one, the ingredients are tomatoes, tomato puree, and citric acid, and the sodium content is 15 milligrams, and that's what's naturally occurring in 1/4 cup of crushed tomatoes. So it's not been added, that's naturally occurring. So the salted version does have a fair amount, there's a fair amount of difference in here. So I would definitely recommend, when possible, looking and buying the no sodium or no salt added. And these are really great staples to have around all the time. And I hope what you get from this video is what I'm trying to tell you is, if you have to choose between canned, fresh, or frozen, don't feel like you're picking the wrong option. Pick what you need right now. Frozen and canned last a lot longer than fresh. And if it's hard for you to get fresh, or it's too expensive, or they don't have a great variety, get yourself some canned and frozen ones, because eating some vegetables is so much better than not eating any. I don't want you to go to the supermarket and say, oh, they don't have fresh, so I'm not going to get anything because the canned and frozen ones are bad. They're not. They're a really great option, and they're a staple in our house, no matter what time of year it is. And I use them for various different things. So I really hope that that has shed some light and taken away any guilt that you've had about buying anything, a vegetable or a fruit, that's not fresh, because frozen and canned are great options. So I hope you learned something from this video, and if you did, be sure to subscribe to my channel. And this is Talia, the dietitian. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed that video, here are a couple more, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss new ones.